Have you ever heard a story of someone that's so amazing, it's hard to believe?
Hope is the power of the soul to endure. Our first big raid was Wake Island, and we were the first upon that since the Japanese took it. They came in so close. We shot down all 3 Zeros, but not before taking on 600 bullet holes. As I sank, I lost consciousness. There's no way I could have gotten out. Pulled the raft back up, got in, then we started our drift of 47 days in the South Pacific. A Japanese patrol boat picked us up and said, "You're going to go to the island of Kwajalein, the execution island, because all prisoners are sent there and then executed." We were skeletons. We couldn't stand up. We lost, I think, 80 guys in one winter. And then they set our day of execution. They took me on the radio. They wrote the script, and it was propaganda, and I said, "I can't do it." And they said, "You must do it." I said, "I can't do it." Hit me across the temple, knocked me to the floor, blood spurted out of my head. Victory in Europe, now victory in Japan. And I saw my family for the first time in about 3.5, 4 years. And coming home as a soldier, everybody took me out to parties and dinners, and I'm taking advantage of all this. I had these nightmares every night. I couldn't get rid of it. And I got worse and worse. And my wife got fed up with it. And then one night I woke up strangling her. I was totally out of it. And we're drunk every night. And then you become addicted. She said, that's it, I've had it. Our marriage was ruined. And she had a little girl to take care of. Tears began to roll down my face. I was all alone. She wanted to get me to that tent meeting. She knew something would happen. She knew this was our only hope. Of all of my near-death experiences, my life never passed before my eyes. My life did pass before my eyes.
Prepare to meet thy God.
It all hit me at one time.
But Louis's story, while it was amazing what had happened to him to this point, didn't really begin until after World War II when he made it home. It was there that he met his wife, and they quickly got married and thought they would start the American dream, an Olympic hero, a World War II veteran and hero. Yet, Louis was so filled with rage and hatred that he turned to alcohol, that he couldn't sleep at night because of the nightmares. At one point, he even told a story of how he was dreaming of choking the life out of the general who had beat him. And as he awoke, he laid on top of his pregnant wife, choking her as she was struggling to get him off. Louis's life was spiraling out of control. And while him and his wife, God had given them a young girl, a daughter, he was losing his family. Finally, Louis's wife told him that she was leaving. But in a last-ditch effort to save her marriage, she accepted the invitation of a friend who invited her to hear a young evangelist. This evangelist's name was Billy Graham. She attended one of his tent meetings, and it was there that his wife gave her life to Jesus. Because of the change that he had made in her life, she went home and told Louis that she was no longer going to leave him, that Jesus had changed everything about her, and that she believed that Christ could also change her husband. She began to beg and plead with Louis to attend one of Billy Graham's camp meetings, and eventually he went. But he told her that as soon as the invitation started, as soon as he heard the evangelist say, "Every head bowed and every eye closed," he was leaving. And that first night, as soon as Billy Graham started the invitation, every head bowed, every eye closed, Louis grabbed his wife's hand and left. She pleaded with him and begged for him to go back again, and he did, but with that same promise As soon as the invitation starts, as soon as I hear every head bowed and every eye closed, I'm leaving. The second night, the invitation began, and he again grabbed his wife's hand and got up to leave. But as he hit the aisle, he says that he remembered the prayers that he had prayed when he was on that raft for 47 days. He remembered the prayers of being in that prisoner of war camp. And he had prayed and told God that if you get me out of here, if I survive, I'll serve you the rest of my life. So Jesus. Because of his fame, because of his notoriety as a war hero, as an Olympic champion, Louis had a platform that he used to share his faith. Louis traveled all over the world with Billy Graham, using the story of his abuse, the story of the hardships of his life, to share his faith, to share the gospel with countless people. Louis forgave those who beat him, those who abused him while in those camps. In fact, he returned to Japan and met with many of them to let them know that because of the change that Jesus had made in his life, he no longer harbored resentment against them. Louis even says that after his conversion, after he forgave those men, he never had another nightmare again, that all that hatred and anger was gone. Louis's life is so amazing that here recently, even Hollywood made a movie about him called Unbroken. And they focused on everything that had happened up to his conversion. But it isn't amazing to think that God could take something as amazing as that story, as horrible as the abuse, and turn it into something beautiful. Louis died in 2014 at the age of 97, still talking about forgiveness and love and his faith in Jesus Christ. Louis left an amazing legacy. And again, we have to ask ourselves, what legacy are you leaving?